What was your first relationship like?
My first relationship at the age of 16 was what I thought was love. It wasn't love now when I look back. It was not the most healthiest
At 16.
at 16.
Is it too much?
No, I just, it wasn't the healthiest. I lasted in that relationship 3 years apart.
Let me ask you like this, because I did change the question. The question initially is, what was your first relationship like? What did you think it was going to be like? And what was it actually like?
So let me ask you, do you mean in partnership or do you just mean any relationship with anyone?
Like a boyfriend, girlfriend. Because when you're a kid, you're looking at all the teenagers. Oh, I can't wait to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend. But you have a preconceived notion of what it's going to be.
Yeah, forever.
So, what was it? What did you think it was going to be like? Or what were you hoping it to be?
I was hoping that it would be forever. I thought that this would be, I guess, I don't want to say somebody that I would have married because I don't think that I thought of like husband and wife, but I did think of like forever. He was someone who was older than I was, and he's deceased now. He died early in life due to gun violence, and we weren't together at the time when he died, but I think that relationship shaped and taught me a lot in the small amount of time, and also looking back what I would not put up with today as a woman.
So you got to at least a learning experience.
Yeah.
You took a couple lessons from it.
Every opportunity for me has always been a learning lesson.
Good. Not too many people see it. Some people see a situation, it'll upset them, or they'll just disregard it. You can take something away from it.
Right.
Okay. As a teen, did you experiment with drugs? What kind and how did you get introduced? What was your experience?
Marijuana. The age of 12. Chocolate High in St. James Park.
University.
Kingsbridge area.
I just remember a chocolate spot.
Yeah, the chocolate tie was a thing. I think I was like high for 2 days.
Yeah, some good chocolate.
Yeah, and I think something that I continue to play with.
Marijuana.
Yeah.
It's a good. Good.
It's good for me though. I think later on, and probably like after college, it started to do something to me. I think psychologically, like it, because I'm a thinker. I didn't want to think, and it made me think too much, and I just felt like it's not working for me.
So you stopped?
I'll dib and dab here and there, but I'm more of now of an edible person, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
When did you leave home? What was your experience out in the world alone? First time.
So I left home 17, 18, and it was to go away to college. Never returned back home.
That's rare.
Yeah, after that, and I think that my experience in college and going away shaped me for now. Yeah, for the long run, right? And it was scary. It was a little scary, I think, because it was the first time, like, I'm like, okay, I went away to college, and I was like, I never stopped to think, like, how was I going to get a job?
Feed yourself.
How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to clothe myself? How am I going to get around? Because I went to school in Long Island, and it's not like public transportation here in the city, But I figured it out. And I also learned, like, oh, yeah, you have to buy toilet paper, right? You have to buy all the things that you take for granted that your parents buy.
For sure.
Now you are responsible for that.
Yeah, it's tough. People, they leave their house and they're so dependent on their parents. Just the most simplest thing, like you just said, toilet paper. You don't even consider toilet paper as a kid as an essential.
No.
So when you leave, you're like, holy shit, I still got to wipe my ass. I got to eat 3 times a day, get to where I'm going, and I can't call mommy.
Right.
Okay. What do you think the world's perception of you has been so far?
You may have to ask the world that. I don't know.
If you had to, from your experience, what do you think their first encounters, like their you know, some people get drawn back. Like I'm a big guy. I usually get people, if I walk up too quickly, they're like, oh, what's going on? You know, stuff like that.
I mean, I think probably people who may first meet me, I don't always have the most welcoming approach in terms of pretty much always a poker face, serious face. That's always been my demeanor. So, and it takes me some time to warm up to people, so I could see that maybe I may come off a little standoffish.
But once you know people, you warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said you suffer from anxiety, right? What usually triggers it?
What will trigger my anxiety is like deadlines that I have to meet for work, presentation. It's usually centered around work related, or moments where I feel like overwhelmed, but the overwhelming is more of like it's what I create in my head because it's not really real.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, you think too much. You overanalyze things and make things something they're not. Maybe.
Right.
Okay. When was the last time you cried, and how important is it to let out that emotion?
Probably like maybe a month ago. I don't even remember what the situation might have been that I cried. It probably was out of frustration. Um, I think that everyone should cry. I think it's like a cleansing of the soul. Like I actually feel bad for people who can't cry or are not in touch with their feelings enough to be able to cry.
Men especially.
Especially men. Yes.
Would you tell them to cry?
Yeah, I would.
It's beneficial to them.
I would. I think like it's just healthy. It's healthy to
just as healthy as screaming.
Yeah, to cry. I don't think that there should be a stigma. I don't think that a man is weak. I think actually if women saw men probably cry more, it opens the door to see someone in a vulnerable position where then you can be empathetic. You can nurture in a way that allows the person to feel like somebody's holding space for me in that moment, you know?
I see a lot of men or women, like you said, look down on a man for crying, saying he's weak or soft, not knowing that if he's willing to cry for whatever he's crying, he's going to express that whenever you're going through something. Mm-hmm. It's beneficial for her at the end of the day too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I encourage. It should be more crying, and it's okay. I don't look at it as a weakness.
A weakness. Okay. Are you or have you ever been married?
No.
Okay. Okay. Thinking of your own relationships, what's some advice you would give your own children?
I would say in general, and not just in partnership relationships, I just think in relationships in general, that I would encourage my son to always show up as his authentic self. Never do something to try to please someone else if it's not making you happy.
You're going to have to carry that persona on forever if you're going to come in with a lie.
Like, you can't mask that long.
No, eventually it's going to come out.
It's going to fall off. And the reality is if you come across somebody who's extremely in tune, they're going to realize and they're going to know like, it's a mask that, you know. So I think what I would just continue to preach is like, one, walk in your power and look in the mirror and tell yourself like you are that dude, you know, like and those positive affirmations to make you feel good, and just always show up as your authentic self, because the people who are going to love you, they're going to love you regardless.
I've never heard that before. Can you explain walking your power?
Walking your power, like that you are so confident and you are so secure with who you are, and that's also embracing the imperfections that you have. That you're just like, this is me, and it's okay, and I'm not going to dim myself. I'm not going to shrink myself to just appease others. Now, also, I mean, you have to be careful that doesn't turn into like narcissism and all of that, right? I'm not saying that. Yeah, that could easily happen, but there is just something very powerful when you just own who you are, the good and the bads.
Okay. Definitely turn that into a t-shirt. I never heard that. That sounds dope. Walking your power is fire. You have a child. Okay. What does being a parent, or how does being a parent change your view of life?
For me, it was a challenge. It was, I had my son at 34, so I was a little bit kind of like not old, but older. And for so many years, I was selfish with myself, and I just had to worry about myself. And once you have a child,
That's out the door.
it's out the door. And I think, every day I'm just asking myself, am I doing this mother thing the right way, or am I failing him at times
Which we'll never know.
until he's older,
We do the best we
We
can.
do the best that we can.
Okay. What are the good and the bad about having children?
The good, I think, is like the love that I've never thought I could have for someone. And when I say like love, because I think love is used very loosely, um, it's this unconditional love that no matter what, like, dude, I love you, like I love you. And for me, that having a child has softened me. And then what was the other?
But also hardened you.
And also, yeah. And
it
also
has to, because the protection you have to put behind your child, you're not letting anything happen to him.
No.
But he softens you up, but at the same time makes you the strongest woman possible, right?
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
And helped me work through. I struggled with needy people who are just like extremely like needy, and knowing that I have a child that
You learned how to empathize.
Yeah.
You said yourself you was taking care of yourself for so long. Now you got a responsibility. You have to learn how to share. The sandwich ain't yours no more. It's his first.
And that I don't come first. And that's still though a struggle sometimes, because there are times that I'm like, I want to come first. I don't want responsibility.
It's not a choice.
Well, it could be a choice, but I choose not to.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
You choose to. Okay.
Yeah.
One lesson you would give your child and hope they take to heart.
To always be kind.
Okay. Have you traveled outside the United States? Where and what was the biggest difference you found?
Yes, I have traveled internationally, and two countries that I think made a difference and just showed me life in a different way was traveling to Nigeria, Africa, and Cuba.
What would you see different? Cuba's crazy. I've seen pictures only, and it's amazing.
Cuba is crazy, but it is the simplicity of Cuba is what I love. I'm like, we're too complex here, and you just need basic things to survive. So there's something about Cuba that I love about that, and I think the fact that they've been able to preserve their architect the way that they have. So it really feels like you're like
time traveling.
So that part I love. Nigeria, it was just being in Africa, and understanding the culture, seeing the culture. I was around families that were practicing polygamy, so for me that was just like, oh, okay, these are how the sister wives work, and but that there wasn't this sexual component to it. It was just about family. It was about continuing that bloodline, and also just the simplicity, even with the poverty, how nurturing and how loving people were with each other and just looking out for each other.
Where here, we're just walking over each other.
Or here, you just, you're trying to eat. So what you're going to do is you're not going to give person, half of your, of your bread. And I think seeing that, I always say, if you can travel, that's the best thing to do, because that's how you're going to learn about the world, and that's how you're going to learn about people. Don't stay in your confinement of just the neighborhood.
Not too many people are afforded the option or the opportunity to go to Africa.
Right, and I recognize that as well. But I do think that there are ways that
if you can figure it out.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be it doesn't mean you have to go and work and save this money, right? There's a lot of organizations that do charity work. So even if you align yourself in that way, and you're just being strategic, hey, maybe this is the only chance I could get to go to Africa. I could go to India. I could go do this. I could do that, right? I think that's an option as well.